Hello, my fellow scientists. Welcome to another episode of Science is Everywhere, the home edition. My name is Marie Lanka, and I am from the Children's Discovery Museum of San Jose, and I am here to bring you science that is all over within your house, which you may have not thought about. So if you're tuning in for the first time, thank you very much for attending. If you've never seen us before, get ready to have some fun. So what are we doing today with science? We are talking about air pressure. The way we're talking about it is by building a contraption called a bottle blaster. So nowadays we're into May, it's starting to have a little bit more in terms of heat. So what can we build to put science together with something that would be fun? Because again, we always want to make sure that we put those two together. And to be honest with science, that's not hard. Okay, so let's get into the materials. And then we'll go ahead and put it together and talk about how this bottle blaster works. So I have kind of a little area here to show you how this is going to work out, and it's going to change periodically. But let's go through the materials. As I said, first you're going to need a water bottle. You're also going to need 2 straws. And I have a bendy straw and I have a straight one. And I'm sorry, that one's a little bit opaque, so it may be hard to see. If you have 2 bendy straws, that's okay, but you do want to make sure that one is a little bit bendable. You are also going to need a plastic bag, a rubber band, and a hair tie will work too, and then some tape. And this happens to be some very bright pink duct tape. But that brings me to my other point that I wanted to go ahead and cover. Some folks have been asking us, what if I don't have these exact materials at home? What do I do? That's completely okay. If you don't have them, now is the opportunity to go through your house and think about what is close to this that I could still use that would do the same job. So for example, if I don't have a water bottle, another example that I've got, maybe this container of, this used to be balsamic vinaigrette. If I don't have a couple of regular like disposable straws, because let's be honest, we really don't want to use these as much as we have been using them. You can use the recyclable ones. You can also use the ones that maybe you take with you to different restaurants in order to make sure that you always have one with you, but it's not a disposable one. If I don't have a plastic bag, there are plenty of different things in our fridge, in our kitchens that have a plastic wrap to them. You could use that as well. If I don't have a rubber band, well, I may have some hair ties. Those will work too. Maybe some string might work as well. And if I don't have duct tape, I could use a different type of tape. There's electrical tape, there's masking tape, all that good stuff. So think outside of the box. Look around and have that scavenger hunt in your house and think about what could do this job in place of these other things. So now that I have all of those things together, and hopefully you have something similar with you, again, doesn't have to be exact, we're going to go ahead and put these together. So you're going to take your bottle, whatever container that you have, and go to your sink, and you're going to want to fill it up as high as you can. Maybe leave, if I was to measure, there's half, there's 3/4, a little higher than 3/4. And the idea is because when we put our straws in, we want to make sure that those straws are going to be touching that water. So take a look at your container. You may want to measure your water out and then stick a straw in there and see how far it goes. Or you can just watch this, pause it, and then make as you go. That's okay too. So I'm going to kind of scoot in here and fill my water bottle. That may be hard to see because water is transparent. Filling, filling, filling. I picked a very large container, so it may take a little bit. All right. There we are, about that full. And again, you know, science has testing involved, so if you find that your model doesn't work right away, you can always change it. All right, then from there, I'm gonna grab a towel and just dry my hands off just a little bit. And you can tell there's a towel over there. I just take them everywhere I go. All right, I'm gonna take my plastic bag or piece of plastic. Again, if you have just a piece of plastic, that'll work too. I'm going to put it over the top like this. Here, let me get that close. I'm going to make sure that I kind of make that as tight as possible on the top. And then I'm going to take my rubber band or my hair tie or my string, again, whatever materials you have, and I'm going to put this around that plastic bag. So that's nice and tight on the top. So let me get that close so you can see. So you see there's the plastic bag, and it actually is covering the top now. So this should be sealed off. You hear that plastic? A little bit of a drum. Kind of makes you think of sound waves and water and solids. We might have talked about that too. Okay, from here, now I'm going to add my 2 straws. This part is a little delicate, so be gentle to start. You can also use a pencil to kind of start a pocket and then push it in, because essentially what you're going to want to do is poke this through the plastic like that. Okay, now again, you may want to use the tip of a pencil or maybe a tip of scissors, things like that, to get that hole started, and then put your straw in. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit loose, that's okay. I'm going to take the other straw, and I'm going to put it, if you have a bendable straw, you want the long end down, and there we go. Also kind of tests your strength a little bit too. Okay, let me get those closer so you can see both of those straws. Let me fold this up just a little bit. Whoop. There we go. They are in that water. See how the bottom are in there? You want to make sure they're inside or down below the water line. Okay, so that's still pretty tight. But see how these are all loosey-goosey? We want to make sure that that's sealed off so they don't go anywhere. So that's why you see all of these little pieces of tape here. I'm not going to waste you guys' time with me cutting tape. I'm going to now tape around these straws to hold them in place. You see how I started to tape there? I'll get that close. So they don't either slide in or out, and then also seals this off. So I'm just going to start taping. And while I'm doing this, please feel free to do yours as well. I apologize, my hands are going to kind of get in the way here a little bit. Just going to go between. And what I'm trying to do is put enough tape here that, number one, the straws are being held in place. And number two, I am sealing this off. So no air is going to get through those plastic bags. And this may take a little bit of wrapping, and that's okay. Just keep on taping. Put maybe one more in here, fold this down. So while I'm doing this, again, go ahead and do yours. So you're not just sitting there watching me. Science is a whole lot more fun when you can actually do it versus just watch. But again, you know, if you're watching just to see how this is put together, you can do that too. All right. That doesn't, not the prettiest thing in the world. But what we're wanting here is function. One more over there. Okay, now hopefully that seals that off. Okay, let me hold that up again so you can kind of see how that's all taped together there. Now, again, what I want to do is make sure that none of the air can get in and out of those holes that I poked in with the straws, because you remember how they were loose? Okay, so now I have this whole thing taped. My bottle blaster should be done. I'm going to leave that little piece of tape there just in case I need a repair kit. Okay, so I'm going to move my tape. Put this here. I'm going to remove this because now I need this sink. I need the sink a little more than I did before. Okay. So I talked a little bit that this was about air pressure. So here's how air pressure is going to come into play. What I'm going to do is I am going to blow on the longer straw, and then I have this bendable one here. And what I'm going to do is push air pressure from my lungs out through this straw and see what happens. So actually, before we do that, really quick, just go like you're really tired of something. Now do that with your hand in front of your face. What do you feel? You should feel air coming out and kind of hitting your hand. Okay. You can also feel air if you're doing this. And if anybody comes in the room and you're doing this, just tell them you're doing science. You don't really feel air when you're standing still. When you do this, you start to feel it a little bit, right? So air should be a real thing. Even though we can't see it necessarily, it should take up room in something. So if I push a whole bunch of air in here and I've sealed this off, where do you think that air is going to go? Okay, well, let's try our bottle blaster. Hopefully that gives you enough time to finish yours. And again, if you're still working on it, that's fine. I'm going to blow through here. I'm going to start a little on the gentle side because, again, I'm not sure how much air pressure I have in my lungs, and we'll see what happens. You guys ready? Oh my goodness. Try that with yours. What happened? Let's try it together. You ready? Take a big breath. It's a lot of air pressure. Did it work for yours? So what's happening? The air pressure, even though it's invisible, air is not visible, I'm pushing it through here, all of that air, which is then coming out this straw down here. Let's see if I can turn it so you see the purple straw. But since I sealed this up on top, it can't come back out any other way but down there. Can't come out up here because I've sealed it. And what's happening is that's then pushing the water out this way. So think of it like musical chairs. When you move around and then all of a sudden you go to sit down on a chair. If somebody else tries to sit down on the same chair that you're trying to sit down on, one of you is going to get pushed out. That's kind of what's happening here. So the air pressure from my lungs is going through here and then pushing the water out. Now, if you're noticing that your bottle blaster isn't working exactly like this, well, number one, you may have a smaller container. Number two, you may not be using as much pressure. But number three, and probably the first thing I would check, is make sure that this up here is sealed up all the way. And the way you can check that is when you blow into the top, if you can feel air coming out here, it means that it's not going through the straw and actually pushing the water out. It's actually going through the straw and then coming back out this way because there's air pockets or little air holes here for it to come out. Okay, so now there's a reason why I have a plastic container over there. And this is it. I'm going to see if I can make it from here to over there. Okay, now taking a look at this again, I said that I needed to have both straws down in the water, right? I'm starting to run out of water here. So let's see if I can get it over there because I have less inside the bottle. You guys ready? Okay, big deep breath, right? You may want to practice this. If you're getting a little dizzy, that's too much air pressure. You want to make sure that you're safe while you're doing this experiment. Okay, so here we go. Oh, well, I got it in there a little. So this is a whole lot of fun. Number one, because like I talked about at the beginning, it's getting warm. We want some stuff that we can do outside. This is a cool thing to do. What really is fun as well is to use this as a watering can. Really get your neighbors talking. Like, what are they doing? You say, well, I'm a scientist. This is my watering can. So have fun with this one and show us pictures of what your bottle blaster looks like, because there's more than one way to put this together. Use different materials from around the house. Use different containers. I think maybe I would really be interested to see how big these bottle blasters can actually get. So I'll leave that out in the world to see who may take up that challenge. So again, these are bottle blasters using air pressure from yourself. And I hope that was something that is fun, and especially now that summer's coming up, it's something that you can use outside and have fun with. So thanks again for tuning in. This is Marie Lenka with the Children's Discovery Museum, and we will see you next time at Sciences Everywhere. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching our virtual Purple Museums broadcast. If you're enjoying this content, please consider making a donation to support our efforts. Our broadcasts are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Stay in the loop by joining our email list by visiting www.cdm.org. Sign up today.